Friends, greetings. Once again, friends, greetings. Till now, we have been discussing about issues relating to India, the society, the politics, the economy. That means socio-political economic conditions of India, in India, about India. Today, I want this discussion to happen, but happen for an area which is beyond India also. India will always be in the picture, but it will have a comparative study or comparative discussion with something different or some different entity. There will be a discussion today on two unions, two very distinct unions. They have their own importance for the world economy, for the world society, and for the world politics. And both the unions are very important, very integral, very fundamental to the existence, to the success of the world or world society or world population. And I hope you understand what I'm talking about. The history is very violent, you can say, very unpredictable, you can say, very transformational, you can say. And similarly, the present also is equally transformational, if not better. And future holds a very promising kind of happenings or promising kind of events between the two unions. And these two unions will always be very integral, very fundamental, and very relevant to the growth and development of the world economy, world society, and world population, and world politics. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Indian Union and the European Union. One is a country, the other one is a continent. One is a union of states, the other one is a union of member countries. One took shape like that. That means one is a sovereign socialist democratic republic. The other one is a trade and economic union of member countries where they want to do business or do trade together for the growth and development of each member or every member. So today I'm going to have a discussion with you all for the benefit to understand well how and where do these two unions prevail or exist in terms of the world economy or world politics. Indian Union is important in its own way, and the European Union is important in another way, in its own way. And both the unions are very relevant, very important, not only for its own people, for the people of the world also, or mutually beneficial or mutually important for both the populations. Indian Union or the European Union, there are similarities and there are dissimilarities. Similarities are like this: same kind of clothing, beliefs, food habits, societies, communities almost same. And dissimilarities are like this, that languages are different, but still their perceptions, their expectations are mostly same. Even if they speak different languages in both the unions, Indian Union and European Union, but their journey in their lives, journey in their countries, or journey in their states, or journey of the stakeholders are equally important for each one of them. Today we will discuss about the history also. History, how does it happen, or what did it happen? If I tell you something about India, Indian Union for the last 1,000 years, it has been subjected to a lot of aggression. It has been subjected to a lot of attacks by foreign rulers from across the world. India's potential or India's wealth or India's economy or India's population was so rich earlier, maybe in the ancient period also and in the medieval period also. It was so rich, it was so wealthy that foreign rulers always looked upon India to be here, to experience the wealth, to share the wealth, to take something or to carry something back to their own countries. And India was so wealthy that people across the world or rulers across the world, they were always having a greedy eyes on India or Indian wealth. And that is why most of them, they always wanted to have their legs or foots in India so that they can share some of the richness or some of the wealth, and they can carry back or they can take back some of the wealth to their own country, so that they are also able to lead a life of satisfaction, monetary well-being. And the situation 300 years back or 500 years back or 1,000 years back was very much different than what it is today. Today, India is considered to be a poor country. The residents are poor, or the citizens are poor, nationals are poor. Per capita income is very, very low. But that was not the case some 300, 400, or 500,000 years back. It was a totally different story altogether. Rather, European Union nationals and residents, they were not that much rich or wealthy, and that is why they always wanted to come to Indian Union. But let us have a discussion, and then we understand the real story behind the Indian Union and the European Union. About 200, and the discussion today or the presentation today will be an insightful and practical comparison for the benefit of all. I will try my level best to help you present, to help you understand the presentation well. About 200, 300 years ago, various countries of the European Union were trying to expand their trade in different regions of the Indian Union. Not only the Indian Union, they were trying to expand their trade in different parts or different regions of the world also. Since India was financially strong at that time, the countries of the world as well as the European Union wanted to take benefit out of it, or wanted to get benefit. By establishing business relations, they wanted to earn economic profit. In this process, gradually, the countries of the European Union started competing among themselves and tried to occupy India, just as foreign Muslim rulers were doing till then. Before European Union rulers or traders or nationals put their foot on the Indian soil, it was being ruled by the foreign Muslim rulers. One such ruler or dynasty was the Mughal dynasty, and they were ruling at that time. Britain eventually won this competition, and it ruled India for almost 200 years, or the Indian Union for 200 years. Till 1947, it ruled the Indian Union. Within a span of 200 or 250 years, such a situation arose that the Indian Union became poorer and the European Union became richer. I don't claim that European Union became richer because of their rule over India, but this is the story, this is the truth. Even after attaining independence in 1947, and despite after almost 75 years of independent journey, Indian political leadership, the Indian Union is poor, but actually has become even poorer. The political leaders, parties, groups have become rich or richer, but the general public and the country are poor or poorer. Incidents or decisions like demonetization, GST, lockdown, etc. have pushed the country further towards all-round ruin. There were some silver linings for a temporary period in the history of India for the last 2, 3 decades or 4 decades, during last 4, 5 decades, when it looked like that India is on the growth path or a developmental path where it will benefit, or the growth or the development will benefit even the last man on the corner, in the last corner of the country, remotest corner of the country. But that were just the silver lining for a temporary period, didn't become a tradition, didn't become a rule for India. Now, despite leading the world and the European Union economically, socially, politically, strategically, spiritually, the Indian Union fell under one country and suffered the brunt of subjugation or rule for almost 250, 300 years. The economic situation of the Indian Union and the European Union has completely reversed during the last 200, 250 or 300 years. Today, Indians from the Indian Union die to be in the European Union countries to improve their economic condition and are ready to go under any circumstances. What was the reality 200 or 250 or 300 years back, because of which European Union residents, citizens or nationals were trying to reach India under any circumstance? Now the situation has reversed, the story has reversed. Now the Indian Union residents, citizens and nationals, because of their economic condition, poor economic conditions in Indian Union and not much of opportunity of employment or business, they want to emigrate to the European Union countries for a better economic well-being or for a better economic condition. Now in order to understand, let us have an introduction kind of understanding, or introduction session or introduction for the Indian Union and the European Union. The Indian Union was formally established in 1947 after getting independence from British rule. The Indian Constitution was finalized by the Constituent Assembly and then formally adopted by Parliament on 26 December 1950. From then onwards, this date is celebrated or observed as the Republic Day of India. The Indian Union is a sovereign democratic republic of 28 states and 8 union territories. Citizens from one state can move, reside, or work in any other state or union territories. Goods and services and people, goods and services produced anywhere in the country can be sold, supplied, and offered without any or much restrictions. Similarly, people of any state in the country, anywhere in the country, people anywhere in the country can move freely, reside freely, or work freely in any part of the country. The European Union was formally established when the Maastricht Treaty, whose main architects were Helmut Kohl and Frank Mitterrand of Germany and France respectively, came into force on 1st November 1993. The treaty also gave the name European Community to the EEC, even if it was referred as such before the treaty. The European Union is a unified trade and monetary body of 27 member countries. It eliminates all border controls between members. The open border allows the free flow of goods and people. There may be police checks based on Polish information and experience that are not equivalent to border checks. Any product manufactured in one European Union country can be sold to any other member country without tariffs or duties. Practitioners of most services such as law, medicine, tourism, banking, and insurance can operate a business in all member countries. This is the introduction of Indian Union and European Union. Now let us understand the politics and governance of the Indian Union. The Indian Union can be really competitive in the global marketplace with the potential to be the world leader on many counts. Central states and union territories are governed by the constitution that grants different roles for all three constituents through a union, state, and concurrent list. The Indian Union has 28 member states and 8 union territories. The European Union's purpose is to be more competitive in the global marketplace. At the same time, it must balance the needs of its independent fiscal and political members. It has 27 member countries and all from Europe. Now, the difference between the Indian Union and European Union. Indian Union is a congregation of states and union territories in its border. All the states are integral part of the sovereign republic. Sufficient autonomy and authority have been given to each state and union territory within the union. The Reserve Bank of India is the central bank. It sets all monetary policies and manages important rates and foreign exchange reserves. Its target inflation rate is around 4%. The Eurozone consists of all countries that use the euro. All European Union members pledged to convert to the euro, but only 19 have done so far. And the European Central Bank is the European Union's central bank. It sets monetary policy and manages bank lending rates and foreign exchange reserves. Its target inflation rate is less than 2%. Now, although I have discussed about the history, but I will have a rather focused, a kind of brief focus on the history of these two unions. Before 1947, the Indian Union was bigger than today and included Pakistan and Bangladesh also. At the time of independence, India got split into two, and two countries were created, India and Pakistan. In 1971, there was a war between India and Pakistan. As West Pakistan people, they wanted to have a separate country on the basis of the language that they speak, Bengali, and that is why Bangladesh was created in 1971. The ancient and medieval India spread far and wide and controlled vast territories in the world. In terms of wealth, religion, and education, India was leading the world. Leaders of most of the countries in the world came to India to conquer, plunder, and carry back the richness in terms of its wealth and scriptures. During last 1,000 years, Islamic and Christian rulers from foreign countries not only conquered, looted, and plundered it, but also ruled after making it their home. Since 1947, India is independent and a democratic country. In less than 75 years, the socio-political economic climate of the country or situation of the country has become horrible and pessimistic thanks to its own rulers. We can't blame outsiders or the foreign rulers for its situation today. During last 75 years, India has been not very well ruled by its own rulers. Instead of having a growth path, instead of having a developmental path where everyone or the man standing in the last or remotest corner of the country also gets benefited, instead of happening that, today's socio-political economic situation of the country doesn't hold very good, is not promising to say the least. Now, what about the European Union? In 1993, the Treaty of Maastricht established the European Union Common Market. 2 years later, the European Union added certain other countries. Then in 2004, 12 more countries joined. And in 2009, some countries joined in 2007. In 2009, the Treaty of Lisbon increased the powers of the European Parliament. It gave the European Union the legal authority to negotiate and sign international treaties. It increased the European powers, border control, immigration, judicial cooperation in civil and criminal matters, and police cooperation. It abandoned the idea of a European constitution. European law is still established by international treaties. And one more thing which needs to be mentioned here, you must be hearing for last couple of years the name or the title or the topic or the subject called Brexit. Brexit means Britain's exit from the European Union. Britain or the United Kingdom want to get out of the European Union. They are thinking that being in the European Union is having more harms or deterrents to the growth of the Britain or United Kingdom, and one getting out of it will solve many of its problems. Still, it is not finalized. Britain or the United Kingdom has decided to split out of European Union. The process is continuing. It has not happened finally, completely, and the kind of situation that is taking place or the kind of developments that are taking place, maybe in future it may happen. But European Union as a whole still holds good because Britain or United Kingdom wants some sort of benefits or privileges what are available for European Union countries. They want, even despite getting out of European Union, they want those privileges to continue. Let us see how does it take place, or how or what kind of situation happen, or what kind of developments take place in terms of the Brexit. But European Union created for the benefit of every country in the Europe. It has really provided growth opportunities to every member state of the European Union. Now we should talk about economy. How does the economy hold? The Indian Union GDP is equal to United States $2.75 trillion, becoming the fifth largest economy in the world in 2018-19. Agriculture, services, and IT are some of the sectors that drive its economy. It is the second most populous country with 1370 million people, or 1.37 billion people, or if in Indian terms, if you want to hear, 137 crores people, and is seventh largest by area, around 3.287 square kilometers. And the European Union has an area of 4.476 square kilometers, sixth largest by area in the world, and population of 448 million, sixth largest by sixth largest by the size of the population. The European Union's trade structure has propelled it to become the world's second largest economy after China. In 2018, its gross domestic product was 22 trillion US dollars, while China's was 25.3 US trillion dollars. You know, the third country is United States of America, whose GDP is almost 20 or 21 trillion US dollars. These measurements use purchasing power parity to account for the discrepancy between each country's standard of living. The United States was third, producing 20.5 trillion US dollars, as I was just telling you now. The European Union's top three exports in 2018 were petroleum, medication, and automobiles, whereas India's top three imports are petroleum again, and pharmaceutical raw materials, and agricultural produce, not in entirely, because in some of the agricultural products India is leading the world, but mostly you can say petroleum and or gas or petroleum products, and then the pharmaceutical products, raw materials, while its top imports are petroleum, communications equipment, and natural gas, I was telling you just now. One more thing which we must present here, or I must present here, is that this is the condition today. Today's India's GDP contribution to the world GDP is hardly 1%, whereas the European Union's GDP contribution is almost second in terms of the size of the GDP. It is second, and it is almost, you can say, more than 15-18%. But the situation of the story was just reverse 250 or 300 years back. India's GDP contribution to the world's GDP was almost 25 to 30%, and European Union's was what it is today for the Indian Union. This was the condition, and this is how we have traveled or completed our journey in the last 200 or 250 years. And the kind of policies, instead of, see, these two unions have very strong potential to be the world leaders in terms of socio-political, economic directions or parameters, but Indian Union is falling behind and is not able to match its resources. It's not able to become the kind of GDP, or it's not able to take its GDP strength to the desired level where the world economy also gets benefit out of the Indian economy or Indian Union economy. Now, in terms of currency, if you see, the Indian Union currency is called Indian rupee, and its value is free floating instead of a fixed exchange rate, and is traded on the basis of daily conversion rate vis-a-vis US dollar. The euro is the common currency for the European Union area. It is the second most commonly held currency in the world after the US dollar. The value of the euro is free floating instead of a fixed exchange. As a result, foreign exchange reserves determine its value each day. Rather, it applies for both the Indian rupee also and the euro also, the Indian Union's currency and the European Union's currency. Both the unions, as I was telling you in the beginning, hold very great importance to the world's GDP, to the world's population, to the world's economy. Both have great potential. Both have great expectations. Both have great performance derivatives also. And both have, the population of both the unions are resourceful beyond expectation, and they can really take the world economy, world politics, or world society to a level or to a stage where the world gets benefit, world becomes kind of, the world becomes a kind of world where the future generations take lessons out of it, and where it is much better than the previous generations. On this note, friends, let me finish, let me stop, let me end the discussion today, and with a great future ahead for each one of you, with a great life ahead, with a very happy and satisfied life ahead of you, I end my discussion. All the best, friends. Thank you. Thanks a lot.